Hey, what's up, all you Amphibia nerds? I'm Duuz-Diz-Din, back again with another episode of Season 2 of Amphibia. It's time for two more episodes, the first part being Toad to Redemption. The long-awaited episode of our favorite character, Mayor Toadstool. Of course, everyone's most beloved character. And Mayor Toadstool's actually kind of going through some growth, if nothing else. He's actually kind of taken to Wartwood. Yeah, he tends to be a sleazy slime ball of a politician, but he actually does find that he enjoys being in Wartwood. And Toady is just like, who are you and what have you done with Toadstool? But he's actually taken to being a little bit more helpful. I mean, you live in a place long enough, of course you're eventually going to adapt and grow with it and take a little bit of pride in the place that you lived, at least to some extent. And even the people are actually really starting to come around to Toadstool as a whole. But then an envoy from Newtopia arrives, and they have come to talk to Toadstool about an important matter. And this important matter is actually the fact that Toadstool has been appointed the new head frog of Toad Tower, and he will be given a whole lot of money in order to rebuild the tower, with the suggestion being made that he could even pocket some of that cash for himself, you know what I'm saying? But Toadstool, with his new outlook on life, questions what happens if he should refuse, and he's told, yeah, you'll be locked in the deepest, darkest dungeon we can find for your insubordination. But, once the envoy leaves, Toady calls out to Toadstool. It's just like, look, dude, this is what you've been planning. You've been wanting this the entire time you got here in Wartwood. But as Toady leaves and Anne enters, Toadstool actually has a little bit of a heart-to-heart with Anne about the situation. And, the fact that he actually doesn't want to leave. And Anne makes the suggestion that, well, if you don't want to leave so badly, why not kind of sabotage yourself? Make it look like you're unfit for the job. So the plan is run through with the planters that they'll make him seem like a coward or just incompetent. Also, guest appearance by Trogdor the Burninator? The hell? Also, Maddie Marcy is busy examining Frobo to interesting results, but as Toadstool shows around the envoy and the farmer's market, Anne and Sprig pretend to rob the planter's vegetable stall, and Toadstool pretends like, oh no, don't hurt me, I just need to run away, only for Mrs. Croaker to be the one to just bash in Sprig and Anne's heads, and just like, wait, why are you guys robbing your own shop? With the envoy thinking, Toadstool, you were just acting as a decoy till the real muscle arrives. Pretty clever. So as Anne and Sprig are being arrested, it's just like, no worries, Toadstool, on to the next plan. So we're shown some fences that are supposed to keep wild moles away, which, it's dinky, so like, how are those going to keep moles out? And especially since the planters and Anne are herding moles into the city, and yeah, devastation ensues, and Toadstool finds a hiding spot, but ultimately ends up falling on a whole bunch of barrels, causing them to be launched in the air right on top of all of the moles, scaring them all away. Like, the most perfect form of incompetence I have ever seen. And, yeah, the envoy is doubly impressed by Toadstool, who's just like, yeah, okay, it's kind of looking like I don't really have much of a choice at this point. But once it's kind of pointed out that Toady will not be Toadstool's assistant any longer, he tries to lash out at the envoy. That is until the former Toad soldiers of Toad Tower attack and completely overwhelm the entirety of Wartwood, as Bog arrives saying that he is the new leader of all these Toads, and they've taken to being bandits ever since the fall of Toad Tower. So that explains where all of them went since Sasha, Grime, Percy, and... oh god, I'm blanking on the other girl's name. But all of them left. So they've just been raiding villages and causing general mayhem. And as Mayor Toadstool goes in order to confront Bog, and they're all threatened by having the village burned down, Toadstool decides that he'll do what a politician does best. Lie to the people. And he just says, you think I care about what happens to these podunk people? Of course not. Well, what I really care about is you, Bog. If you join me, half of this wealth is yours. You can be my new second in command at Toad Tower, too. So, there's a little bit of wheeling and dealing here, only for it to be a trap, and it's the signal for attack as the people of Wartwood go on the offensive, and Toadstool even manages to just jack Bog in the schnoz, and they overcome all of the Toads of Toad Tower. Like, Jesus, you guys must have been in the woods for a hot minute, because you got overwhelmed very quickly. But the envoy tells Toadstool that, yeah, you're a great job, but you're kind of soft for our taste. You can't have a heart when you're the leader of Toad Tower. So she instead offers the position to Bog, who of course accepts without question, especially considering he gets all that money without question now. And the envoy says, yeah, the leader of Toad Tower can't have a heart. That's not what we're looking for. We needed someone ruthless, and that's obviously not you, because you care about this town, and we can't have any of that. And so Bog tells the people of Wartwood, oh yeah, I can't wait to come back and tax the hell out of you people. I'm going to make Grimes seem like a cool summer's breeze, which is very troubling. But, you know, Toadstool then tries to tell the people, look, all that said, the stuff I said before about you people being a podunk town, I didn't mean any of it, but the people, they've grown to really believe in Toadstool and have accepted him as one of their own, so I kind of like that for the most part. Also, this weird moment between Toadstool and Toady, I'm starting to think their relationship is a little something else. No judgment, just can you not do that in front of people? It's weird. Next part of the episode is Maddie and Marcy, which I've actually really been looking forward to because it's to two weirdos of the various different groups and all that good stuff. So Maddie's off busy making a concoction as she's set upon by her younger sisters who want to play. But Maddie is busy trying to revive a dead pet for a client. But it ends up taking too long and the girls get tired of waiting around for Maddie, so they go off to play, but this causes one of them to be launched right into Maddie, spilling her potion onto a tree, which brings the tree to life, as you do. Meanwhile, Marcy is busy studying all of the flora of Amphibia, making a book, but then she hears screams and goes on the offensive. But Maddie has it covered, very handedly, of course, but then she chews out her sisters, telling them to go away and go back home. But enter Marcy, who's just like, oh man, you're a witch, just like my favorite not Harry Potter knockoff, Cynthia Coverin. Because, not Harry Potter knockoff number 173, but they immediately take to each other as Marcy has always wanted to learn a little bit of magic here in this magical fantasy world, and Maddie's just happy to have someone who actually takes her practices seriously. But the triplets, they're none too keen on someone muscling in on their big sister, as Maddie and Marcy set out on an adventure to regain the supplies needed for the pet resurrection, and it's utterly disgusting. Like, they're two peas in a pod. And it's actually fascinating how many people Marcy naturally gets along with between Hop Hop and Maddie. It's just like, she's just a good egg. But they basically become best friends within the span of a day, which is basically all you take sometimes. Sometimes it takes a little bit longer. It's not the length of a friendship, it's the quality of it. But Marcy tries to tell Maddie that maybe she's being a little too harsh on her younger sisters. But Maddie tells her story, and we also get to see her other eye. That, back in the day, Maddie would juggle her sisters and have a good time. They loved that kind of stuff. But once she found a book on the dark arts, she was all for it. And she no longer had time for her little sisters as she pursued more grown-up stuff. But, Marcy feels that, okay, well, you're the boss and in charge, I'll leave it to you, as she leaves. But having been told to grow up, the girls are at a loss, as the fact that Marcy is moving in on their territory and they're none too keen. But they think maybe we should use one of Maddie's spells to grow up for real. And the next morning, they're concocting a potion in Winnie the Pooh's honey pot. But because of this, they ultimately ended up basically destroying a few pages of Maddie's book. But they feel that it'll all be worth it in the end, as we see that Marcy has done a little bit of potion crafting herself, making a yodeling flower, which she's immediately annoyed by. But then the experiment commences, full-on Dr. Frankenstein style, and they resurrect the forgotten pet. But this is interrupted by the triplets arriving, showing that they've grown up, quote-unquote. But they end up terrorizing the town in the process, with Maddie realizing they only did this because they wanted to be grown up and be able to hang with their big sister. But it's even worse than that, because they're still growing, and it's only a matter of time before they hit a point where they'll eventually pop. So as they go rampaging through the town, and we have a brief moment seeing what Anne and Sprig are up to, questioning about events when the main character aren't around. A little bit of fourth wall breaking there. Love that kind of stuff. But even the triplets realizing that they shouldn't be growing so much, and they start to panic. But Maddie tells Marcy to concoct the curative potion, as she decides that she'll take one of the potions herself in order to go after her little big sisters. And she plays with them a little bit in order to calm them down. That way Marcy can come in with the antidote that she managed to concoct all by herself. Oh, apprentice witch, so good. Oh, now you're starting to feel like Owl House. I realized that when I said it. It's just like, ooh, kind of Crib and Owl House style, but magic isn't mutually exclusive. But they managed to cure all three of the girls as well as Maddie herself, and it's all thanks to the tutelage of Maddie and the studious nature of Marcy. And Maddie apologizes to her younger sister, saying, hey, I get it, you don't have to forgive me. If only I had taken some time to actually look after you and just play with you from time to time, this never would have happened. But they love their big sister too much to be mad at her, and we have a nice touching moment. Also, the pet arrives on the scene, and it's kind of cute. It's just like, oh, it came after us, but it's still a zombie, and that's kind of creepy. So, yeah, and that ends the episode. A wacky, fun episode. Maddie and Marcy naturally was my favorite. Nothing against Mayor Toadstool, but he's far from the most interesting character in this series. But it's also nice to see that he's had some form of growth. He's still a selfish money grubber, but a selfish money grubber who actually cares about the place he has to live in. So there's that. But Maddie and Marcy, like the moment I heard this episode title, I'm just like, oh dude, that makes so much sense that they would be compatible like this, that they would actually find some solace in just this sisterhood almost. So very fun episode, nothing really important, but at the same time it creates through lines for what characters you can call on in any instance. Anne's relationship with Mater Toadstool is in a better place. Marcy has a new friend within Wartwood, so that means that anything King Andreas might be cooking up, Marcy has a little bit more of a love for the people of Amphibia, if nothing else, and I feel like that'll play a big part in future events. But tell me your thoughts in the comment section below. If you like this video, like, subscribe, do all the YouTube stuff, or don't. I ain't your daddy, and until next time, stay froggy. Bye-bye.